The Met Office has warned of severe weather in the south of England and Wales, along much of the west coast, as well as in Scotland and Northern Ireland. That means strong winds and maybe more than 1.5 inches of rain. So the pumps at the Somerset levels are likely to be on again today. Most of the flood warnings this morning are in the southwest, which has already been drenched during several days of ferocious weather.
So it's certainly generated, as you'll see, some very dramatic images. Dawlish, on the south coast of Devon. Its name derives, some say, from a Celtic word meaning devil water. And what swept in here last night brought a touch of malevolence with it. This is part of the Exeter to Cornwall train line, suspended mid-air, filleted with ease by last night's high tide, stripped of its ballast and swaying in the wind, as useless as the seawall which used to protect it. The men from Network Rail look on, pondering what to do next. A crater in the road beyond, the house beside it preparing to surrender its front porch, and all the residents along this street.
Let's go!
Teenager went missing on Thursday after going out to take pictures of the storm. He hasn't been seen since. More than 200 homes have been flooded in the storms, but the government says many thousands of properties have been protected. With more rain and high winds on the way, our flood...
Last night, Devon and Cornwall bore the brunt of the surging tides and unrelenting gales. Gales in some areas of more than 90 miles an hour. This was the seafront in Torquay, and this the promenade in Penzance, where at dawn it was still thundering in. More than 40,000 people in the southwest of England have been affected by power cuts since yesterday. There have been a host of road closures across the region. And just up the coast from Penzance, the harbour of Porthleven, pummeled by a foaming sea. Watch now the ease with which it just strips this roof of its slates. The harbour's timber defences and a number of fishing boats fared little better.
We've had some bad weather down here over the years, and we've had...
High tide in Aberystwyth last night, and at times the promenade became part of the sea. Hundreds of people were advised to leave their homes. Some shopkeepers packed their things and left.
It's quite phenomenal.
We came across this Dorset holiday park, now a joyless lagoon. Scores of houses across this region now flooded or just too dangerous to occupy. The question is, how many more to come when the next storm hits?
Once again, much of Britain's coastline is taking a battering. This was Portland and Dorset this morning as the waves came crashing over the sea wall. It was a similar scene at Aberystwyth.
There is a lot of repair work and cleaning up to do. In Aberystwyth, the seafront has been badly damaged. Exams at the university have been delayed for a week as the town tries to recover.
From what I can see, the river is still rising, where the fire and rescue have been rescuing some people out of a car. That was drivable about 1 o'clock and was probably about a foot deep, but it's now coming up to the window level on cars, so that does seem to be rising. And apparently the police are evacuating people from flats near the river. The complete car park around the supermarket and the leisure centre is full of water. There's water running through the two arcades that run off the high street. It is literally inches away from the big bridge in the high street at the top, so it rises up. I don't know where it would go after that. It's got to go somewhere, but right. It's not far off that.
Sure. So we're talking about an area right in the middle of the town centre that's affected here?
Oh, yes. Yeah, it is. It is the high street area, and the house is just off the high street.
This debris is all that remains of a train station roof in Cork, which caught the full force of this winter storm. 3 people were injured here as the winds whipped in from the Atlantic at speeds of up to 90 miles an hour. The storm swept up through Ireland and into the UK as far as the Western Isles of Scotland. Few parts of the British Isles were untouched, but the most serious consequence was in North Lincolnshire, where a cargo ship deckhand fell overboard and still hasn't been found. In Northern Ireland, powerful gusts brought down chimneys and power lines. At one point, 7,000 homes had no electricity, though engineers have now restored power to most homes. Thousands in Cumbria were also cut off. In southwest England, the problem was flooding, and people across the region are being warned to take immediate action. This was Bristol. But Cardiff looked much the same, and in parts of Wales it was an anxious night, with sandbags at doorways and the fire service in the street pumping out standing water. And the Met Office says more weather like this is on the way. Richard Lister, BBC News.
Like tomorrow.
The damage from yesterday's bout of stormy weather might not have been as bad as expected, but there is still a threat from the strong winds and high tides. And the warnings about staying away from coastal paths haven't changed. This family had a lucky escape at Cove in Cornwall. The areas most at risk today are Dorset and here on the River Severn in Gloucestershire. With the risk of flooding far from over, news of job cuts at the Environment Agency has provoked criticism. Some say it couldn't have come at a worse time, though ministers insist frontline work won't be affected.
This government...
In some places today will be a chance to try and clean up. But another wave of stormy weather is on its way. Ben Gagan, BBC News.
This is what happens after 36 hours of torrential rain swells the rivers to levels never seen before. In Calgary, street after street is waterlogged and cars are submerged. Roads and railway lines are flooded and some 24,000 people have been living without electricity. But even that might be a little optimistic. Forecasters say there's more rain to come. Wendy Urquhart, BBC News.